Are you Nigerian?
Yeah, on my mum's side at least. Yeah.
Ah.
But it's sometimes it takes a bit of time convincing people. That I am, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was working the bar at what's it called, Across the Tracks Festival.
Oh yeah.
It was a couple of years ago, and there's a couple of Nigerian guys working the bar. One of them was called Coyote.
Yeah.
One of them was Toby, and yeah, they were both Nigerian, and they were getting into it about Nigerian stuff. But like, Toby's like Nigerian accent, like he'd moved from.
Oh,
Nigeria.
okay.
Coyote's like his parents are Nigerian, you know? And then I was like, yeah, I'm Nigerian, and they both looked at me like, what?
No, you're not.
I was like, he was like, I thought you were Egyptian. Everyone said, oh, you look like Mo Salah.
Yeah, I do see it. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Resting Place podcast. I am Dapo Aguirre and I'm very pleased to be joined by singer-songwriter Steven Bamidele.
Hello, how's it going, boss?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for joining me. Today, Steven's come all the way from Brighton and it's like 10, 11 in the morning, so I appreciate the time, I appreciate the effort for coming down. I met you at a show, I think. It was, first time it was...
Was it around here?
I think it was.
It was Bethnal Green.
Bethnal Green, yeah. Ollie Guami was doing a show with Renell.
Yeah.
And then I saw you at We Out Here.
Yeah.
And I saw your set at We Out Here, and mate, it was fucking class. It was so good. And I reached out, so I'm really appreciative of you giving up your time. But for those of us who don't know who you are, for those of us who are here because of who you are, can you let the people know who Steven Bamidele and what's your sound, what's your vibe?
Yeah, I'm a writer, producer, just general artist, I suppose. I'm from Suffolk originally. Lived in Brighton for a few years. Now live in London, so a bit of nomadic guy in that sense. The sound is kind of. I'd say soul, like in one word it's soul, but then there's elements of electronic, bits of kind of psychedelia in there even. And even like I think there's like indie rock in there too, especially in the stuff that's coming out this year as well. So, yeah, a bit of a mixture. How
did it start for you? Like what was the entry point into music as a career?
As a career, I mean, I'm 30 now, so like it's like...
That's still young, man. It's fine.
Yeah, it feels like it just feels like a blur sometimes when I think back to being like 17.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I guess like when I was in school, I was in loads of bands. And, our little friend group we listened to a lot of rap and stuff, but I personally really liked pop punk, rock and stuff. So we kind of melded those two worlds a lot. And so in school, me and my friends Max and Kerr and that, we just played in all the local pubs, playing like punk, but then I would rap over stuff or sing over it, and it was just odd stuff, but like we really cut our teeth in Suffolk, like playing live in that way. And then when I turned 18, I bought a laptop, saved up for a laptop, and just started producing, because we'd learned to produce a bit in music tech at school. So, yeah, just did more of that in my own time. Really enjoyed it. Went to university, studied music tech, carried on writing in my own time. And I always knew that I wanted to, from early on playing in those bands, I was like, music's the thing. I'm doing music, but how to actually like develop and get into the industry and all that was very much like a learning process. I don't even know if I'm in the industry now, but like I don't think I am really. But yeah, it's all been a learning on the job kind of vibe. So
yeah, and I think that is part of it. I was having this chat with Renell actually not too long ago, where it's like, if he wasn't like booking shows and like making some element of income from it, he'd still be making the music. So like it's one of those things that you're trusting in the process of what you're doing, but like you were gonna be doing it anyway. You knew it, but you knew it was something that was in you. You knew it was something that's going to be like a part of your life. Hopefully, fingers crossed, when it is your time. It blows into that thing that is your stable source of income, changes your life, blah 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 blah. But we're manifesting it. We should put these things out there into the world. I'm not a big person for like New Year's resolutions and all those sorts of things. But I feel like you've got to say what you want now, and be
unashamed about it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what it is. But it's interesting you say about the merge between hip hop and rap. Bit of a tangent. Have you ever listened to a guy or heard of a guy called JD Cliff?
No.
I would recommend giving him a listen. He is how can I describe? It's almost like he's taken Block Party tunes and he's got like a grime flow over the top of it, and it is serious. He just I think he sold out like Omira or one like maybe like 150 cap venue in London, maybe a bit bigger, but
so he's London based.
He's London based, yeah. Well, at the moment, I think he's going to blow up, but that I think. If you ever want to go back into that sound of merging punk and rap, I think there's a market for it now. Yeah. So then you know music's what you want to do. You start working on your own stuff. How does your sound sort of cultivate into what it is now? Like, how did you land on this?
Well, this is I think we'll probably get into this anyway, because that's kind of why I picked the album for today.
Okay,
it was kind of I had a big like. Turning around 2011 2012 my perspective on just like music creation changed altogether. So like I basically had this opinion that like I only like guitars and piano and drums and singing, and anything fake is bollocks. And like I hated synths, I hated drum machines, I hated anything that came across as fake to me. I didn't even like. I was so like militant about it that even if you had like a band that was like a 3-piece or something, and I would hear it, but then I'd hear a piano in the song, I'd be like, well, who's playing piano? There's no pianist in the band, so there shouldn't be a piano in this.
Fake.
I was so like ridiculously sort of. I don't know why I had this really rigid kind of opinion about what should be, but yeah, in 2011, 2012, I got stoned for the first time with my mate, and he was like, oh, we should go back to my house and listen to this new album I found, and he played me James Blake's first album, the self-titled album, and it was so just unlike anything I'd ever heard. Like even now listening back to you go, no one could have written this album except him at that point in his life, and it just really opened my mind to the potential of synths and the potential of being in the studio and like
how we can elevate the music. Like it doesn't have to be this thing that is like taking away from the artistry. It's like an addition to that. Like it's a tool that you have in your toolbox to use.
100%. And like the recording is a painting. You can think of it as a painting, and you can do anything within that. You know, the stereo feels like a sandbox. You can do anything. I don't know. It just opened my mind to it completely. And then there were a couple other albums like that I heard around the same time. So there was Monkey Town by Mode Selector. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've heard of Mode Selector. I've not listened to the album.
My mate lent me that album on CD. And I love that it's got some like Radiohead, a big like one of my favourite bands. So Tom York's on that album a lot. 2011-12, my perspective changed massively. So I went from like only writing on guitar and piano to then like when I bought that laptop, like, you know, starting with a synth sound or constructing drums, and it gave me a lot more freedom. And I moved away from, because I'd been writing like a lot of acoustic or like punk or rock songs, and I was looking up to people like you know, Block Party. Are they Newtown Kings or New King Blues? There was like a Indian fronted like punk band. But they had an Asian front, so I was looking up to people like that basically. It's like who I could maybe.
Yeah, I definitely think there was a shift, and it's changing and growing. But like people of color in music spaces that are not rap, R&B, soul, neo soul, like it wasn't done. and it just wasn't done. And I think even over the course of like doing this podcast and speaking to people of varying backgrounds, like the idea of representation in, I think mainly when you look at like maybe rock, indie, alternative, but also in like electronic music, like dance music, house, like there weren't, especially kind of growing up in the UK, there weren't those avenues to look at, and there was so few and far between. And you find yourself like 5-10 years down the line chatting to people about the music that you used to listen to, and then they're like, oh yeah, I used to fuck with Block Party. Oh, I love Two Door Cinema Club. And I was like, why didn't you tell me when we were 17? This is the shit that I was listening to in private because it wasn't acceptable. Yeah. And but it is I definitely like can resonate with that idea of like seeing just even those one or two bands acts where there's a front man who is a person of colour, somebody who's got not like stereotypical English or British, like meant a lot. And I think hopefully now it's more of a common thing. Like everybody is making music of varying degrees, but I think it was that end of the noughties into the 2010s where you started to see these faces breaking through, and like maybe there was less of that gatekeeping in terms of the racial barriers. That's quite an intellectual conversation for this podcast. I think this leads quite nicely into talking about your album choice and kind of how this album in itself like affected your music taste, and I kind of want to hear that story. Without further ado, if you can let people know what your Mind Resting Place choice is and why you chose it.
Yeah, so my album today is called Transference, and it's by an American rock band called Spoon. The reason I chose it is just because I could have chosen some other albums that maybe had a bit more cultural impact at the time, but I kind of like that this album, they're quite big in America. They're relatively unknown in America.
I'd never heard of them. I'd never heard of them at all.
So I like the idea of just bringing an album that you may not have.
I love it.
People may not have been aware of who are watching. And yeah, it was this album, like, it's in my blood. It's weird. It's weird to. I don't even remember how I heard it, but I just need to go back into my like childhood for context. But like when I was growing up, I grew up in Suffolk, and everyone around me was white. And I'd be out playing with friends, and they'd talk about like a rap song they'd heard. And they'd show me, and I wouldn't necessarily. I'd be like, I don't get it, or I don't like it. And they should be like, oh, you should like it.
You're black.
You should like it.
This is for you.
Yeah. And I would almost like rebel against it, and so I sought out. I almost like seeked out like indie music or just pop punk music as a kid. But then, a few years after that, I got really heavily into like soul and rap and R&B. But so that's kind of why I knew a lot of this stuff. I really seeked it out. I was like a MySpace kid, so I just found bands on MySpace all the time or on the iTunes store. So I must have just come across them
at a point in time. Yeah.
And this album came out in 2011 or 2010.
2010, I think. Yeah.
The thing shall I go into why I picked it?
Jump in.
What I really liked about it was similar to why I was talking about the James Blake, just how the album's so weird and it's mixed so weird. This is kind of a nice midpoint where it's acoustic instruments, but it's mixed so counterintuitively. Like his voice is right there, dry. There's no reverb.
It feels very like raw. Yeah,
stuff is panned hard to the sides, like the drums or the guitar will just be panned to the left or right for no apparent reason. And then something will have like crazy reverb on it while something else here is dry, and it just created this. I like to describe it as like a band made a rock album, and then the album got haunted by a ghost. That's how it feels.
I really like that description. Yeah. I think it's one of those things like as a first listen and coming on it with completely new ears, and I think if I'd found this album let's say 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I don't really understand what I'm listening to. Whereas now I'm like, actually, one, it's a really pleasant listen. Like I think it's a well constructed album, and there's not really like many weak songs in terms of like the full discography, but they make sense because I feel like the album is a bit chaotic. Like it's not something that is supposed to like let you sit into it and relax. Like it's very testing as a listen. And there's parts of it where it almost like lulls you into a full sense of security, and then the next song starts and you're like, oh shit. What? But as I've grown up and become like more of a fan of wider like genres of music, I love things that don't really have or fit into the boxes that we normally assign to what a rock album should be or what a rap album should be. I think this fits into that mold of almost genreless, ambiguous, experimental music so well. And like when I thought the first track before Destruction, I was like, okay, this is going to be a 2010s like indie rock album. Like I know what I'm getting myself in for. Fine. 15 minutes down the line, I'm like, where the fuck are they taking me? This is not what I signed up for, but I mean that in the best of ways. Like it is just a very enjoyable listen, and with like influences from a wider like almost like soundscape rather than like specific genres that I really enjoyed. And I think it's quite interesting the seeking out, right? Like they're from like Texas, right? Like
I think so.
This is just so far a departure from anything. Like we have no reason to know who Spoon are realistically, but like it's great music. It is great music.
Yeah, it's another one of the albums that just exploded my head just in terms of what could be achieved or what was possible. Like, I didn't want to be a producer until I heard this album and that James Blake album. I heard these and it kind of
flipped the switch.
It made me realise that like playing it, for me anyway, if you're an instrumentalist, obviously that's an incredible skill.
Of course.
I play instruments, but like I kind of like plateaued when I could write songs, and I didn't like learn any incredible things on those instruments. But I really wanted to master like creating a studio recorded song, and this was the album that like
kicked that off,
inspired me a lot to do that. Just because it was so interesting for me as a listener. Like he would just cut his voice off, but it would sound so good, and like just the techniques they used. It made it kind of, how they say a Wes Anderson film, it like rather than hiding the cameras and the it shows you all the scene. Like, it shows you how the story's being told. I feel like this album kind of does that.
Yeah.
Like, it shows you behind the curtain of the making process, but it adds to the story.
A really like accurate vinyl resting place album. Like this is something that you 15 years down the line still have an affinity for. It's a inspiration to your like artistry and your musicianship, and it's also a fucking good album. It's a fucking good album. So no, I all for it. And sometimes it's difficult, and it's hard when I really hate the album that someone brings on. Like, it is because I like to be honest, but then also, especially like the more that I'm speaking to musicians and artists, and like don't necessarily have relationships with the people that are coming on the podcast, like there's always like that. Do I say to them that I think your music taste is bad? I was when you suggested it, I was like, okay, right. Buckle in, Dapper. We might this might be a testy one, and then I got to the end of it. I was like, "This is gonna be fun. This is it's really enjoyable." Do you have like a standout song on the album that?
It's hard to say, but I mean, to be honest, the one that you pointed out, the Before Destruction, like the first tune,
it's a really good intro. Really good intro.
It's so well, I used the word already, but like haunting. But it makes me. I like music that makes me ponder the. It's gonna sound really wanky, but like I like music that makes me think about existence.
I hear it though. I hear it 100%. I think as well, like it's like music is supposed to, and again, this is probably going to sound pretty wanky, music is supposed to make you like feel something and take you somewhere. And I think especially in today's era, and like there is a lot of time, and I have a lot of time for like entertainment music is what I call it, where it's something to like get you through a day, or it's something for the club, or it's something for a night out, and like that is fine. But like music as an art should still be able to move and like pose questions, and I like lyrics that are kind of like pushing me into the abyss, and like because that has power in itself. Like it does, not everything has to be rainbows and sunshines and like the beauty of the world, because that's not real. Like that's not what the world is every single day, and that's not what everybody's reality is at all points in time. So I definitely hear that. And with Before Destruction, it is like I don't know, maybe like a very somber opening to what is actually quite like I think quite a high energy album at points in time. And it was some, like, haunting is the right word, but it's again that lulling into full sense of security. Like, okay, well, you settle back, and then it just slaps you around the face with a mystery zone. You're like, oh god, fuck, what's going on?
That could quite easily be like a last song on the album, Before Destruction, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's cool they opened it that way. But yeah, that it's a lot of it is the sonics, because I couldn't actually recite many of the lyrics if I thought about it. But like the sonics really, one of the songs, "Who Makes You Money," he's talking about. I think he's talking about capitalism, but like the sonics of it just make me feel so ethereal. I can't really explain it, and it doesn't feel like it's meant to be that deep.
No, but then it has that effect. Yeah, I think for me it was "Nobody Gets Me." Like that was as an outro to an album. If the outro is good, it's like if a film is amazing all the way through, but it has a shite ending, then you lose that affinity to the film, because you're like, all you can remember is how it ended. You're like, and same with an album. I think if you get to like, you're like, oh, this is going really well, and then the last 2-3 tracks are just like, why did you put these on there? It kind of taints it for me a little bit. Whereas I feel like this album, as much as I think Nobody Gets Me But You is, it's like a closing credits, like rounds everything off in a nice little bow, and it gets me all up in my feelings. So it was one of those things that I think was the perfect tune to put there, and like it was the first one that went straight into a playlist for me. And then it got... Yeah. And then...
Interestingly, this is actually one of the ones I spent the least amount of time with.
Oh, really?
Because I like the kind of first 6-7 tracks so much. I actually opened the album to listen to it again before today. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, I'd never really listened to this one.
You never get that far.
Yeah.
And I think Mystery Zone is up there for me as well. As just not a song that I've heard anywhere else. Like there's not many things that I can put next to it where I'm like, there's almost bits of like funk in there, and I was like, this is not what I was expecting from them. I think they've done it very well, but it works in the album for whatever. Like it does just really work. Do you listen to Spoon in general? Like, have you gone through the rest of their discography? Are you a fan of them, or are you more, you found this album, love this album, and that was that for you at the time? Like it was right time, right place.
It was definitely right time, right place. This album's the main thing. They have another album called Ga 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 Ga. I think it's called. And there's a tune on there called "Don't Make Me a Target." I love that song. Okay. And Gimme Fiction is the album before Transference. Yeah. That was the one before
Yeah.
Transference. And there's a song on there called Merchants of Soul as well. So there's like 2 specific songs outside of this album I love. To be honest, mainly Transference. I found it in that moment in time when I was at school, and it just spoke to me really heavily. But I think I would probably love a lot of their stuff.
Yeah,
if I took the time.
To be fair, I gave like a little bit of time to the newer stuff. Like I listened to this album, the Lucifer on the Sofa.
Yeah,
bit weird, put it out there, a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But there were some tracks that I kind of fucked with. Like it was again like that arty experimental. Like it doesn't sound anything like Transference. Like it's a complete. If it was a different band, I would believe it. But
when did that come out?
2022.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that very new. I was just like, let me just give it a try. It's not entirely for me, but I would recommend. I think it's worth a listen. I think it's an interesting concept, but I think it's. I don't know how you find this because I've seen that you've been doing or trying to do an album a day, right? Listen to the new album. How
that just kind of
it's hard. It's fucking hard. My old co-host Barney, he tried to do it and he got very close to a year. Maybe had to like give himself a couple passes, but he would go back to like albums that he'd kind of known, but hadn't listened to in a long time, and then he was writing reviews for them at the same time. But it's just fucking impossible to keep up with how much music and everything. And it's an amazing thing because it's like an endless well of what you can listen to, and there's always something to go and find. But like actually sitting down and like deep diving into an artist or like giving a new sound a try, like it's hard to keep up, especially with like new music. I'm trying for the podcast and just in general to like do picks of the week and try and at least include one or two new albums in there to make it relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't. I can't catch up with myself because I'm like, okay, well, this has just come out, so I need to write about this at some point in time. And then, now fucking Central C's dropped this, and then it's like, okay, like it is relentless. It is relentless, and there's just so much music out there that I almost not given up, but it's like you can't even have like a full span of like an opinion on these things because it's like I don't know what's going on. Like, there's so many, especially when you look at the American market, there's so many American bands that are doing super well, making tons of money, and they probably don't even have a passport, never left America, never had to, never needed to, let alone if you start going into foreign speaking and that it is boggling the mind at the moment. But
I think it's like important to remember that like just because it's all coming out doesn't mean you have to hear it all. And like I think it's having time to discover anything new is good, and it's like that's a blessing. If you to still find any new music that you like, and then I think like you're not meant to hear everything either. Like a lot of music is cultural, right? So it's only going to be not relevant, but it's only going to be made for people in. Like we see this with Kendrick now. Like his music is global, but like it's made for people in LA.
Yeah.
And like, but then I don't know. Take someone like a Grindmasters. They're talking to people in London or in their community. In this country,
it is true.
Not everything. Because I feel the same way. I'm like fuck. They release like 100,000 songs on Spotify every day, but then you go there's so many people in the world that like it's going to be heard because you think like what if an amazing song's released and it's never heard? But like, someone will hear it. It might not be us, but someone will hear it,
and it doesn't stop it being amazing as well. Like I think that's the one thing I was listening to. There was a clip, I think it was Scorcher, who was like, nobody talks about the music. How does the music sound? We're in this space where it's like, okay, what are the numbers? Like, how well did it do this in the first week? Blah, 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 blah. Like, regardless of how many people are listening to it, regardless of what it's doing in terms of streaming numbers, what it's doing in charting, blah, blah, blah. If something is a good piece of music, whoever does hear it and is really, really vibing with it knows it's a good piece of music. The artist who made it hopefully knows that they've made a good piece of music, and like that, everything that comes around it within the industry and within like what we're looking for in terms of making a career out of these things doesn't necessarily almost often doesn't correlate to the quality of the music. Like there are so many things that are super successful that aren't great musically, like realistically, and there's so many things that are incredible musically that are not really that commercially viable, and that's just the way of it. And I think,
but you could make a terrible song, but your cousin's an A&R.
Yeah, facts.
Literally, that's
facts. Exactly.
You could, or you could be a virtuoso, but you're just born in somewhere where there's none of that, no industry whatsoever. Yeah. It's just
something that you have to. You have. I'm sure as an artist you grapple with it as well, but trusting in the fact that you're making good music is really, really important, and these things come in times and cycles, and there will be a point in time or someone somewhere who picks up your music and is like, oh, this is incredible, this is exactly, I mean, that's the end goal of it, like, to make whoever listens to it feel something and move with it regardless of how many people that is. You mentioned like the different influences that you've had and the other albums that could have been your vinyl resting place choice. Could you run me through like a couple of recommendations, things that I will go and then listen to, but for people at home, like albums you just think people should be listening to that could have been your number one slot?
A couple I've mentioned already. I mean, obviously James Blake's quite big, a big artist, but some, I don't know how much attention his first album gets these days. So James Blake, self-titled album. James Blake is just a great re-listen if you've heard it many times. If you haven't heard that one, but you've heard his newer stuff, it's a really interesting just to see his trajectory as an artist. I like his new stuff, but definitely he's just one of those artists for me where I'm very nostalgic about his earlier stuff. Monkey Town by Mode Selector. A similar album to this by a band called Dirty Projectors. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Never heard of them, no.
They released an album called Twin Low Magellan. Low spelled without a W, so just L-O. Very strange indie rock again, like it's stuff whacked over to the side in the headphones for no reason. Very unique vocal. He sings in a very weird way, but just great songwriting and like just interesting way of doing things. I think I was walking through an HMV and they were playing this one day. I couldn't Shazam it. I don't think they had Shazam at the time. I asked the person at the counter what it was.
Social interaction. Couldn't do it these days.
I just wrote it on a note. Just write it back on. Just slide it back to me. So yeah, I'd recommend that. And I thought about this, man. I thought about this before I came, and my mind's gone blank.
The pressure of the hot seat.
Yeah. A couple albums that have influenced me too in the past is like a classic one is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. That's a big like vocal influence for me in that album. I mean, he's talking about so many cultural, political, systemic issues in that album, which as a kid when I first heard it, I didn't really understand. But we were learning that album. So at school, our teacher, Mr. Tuck, he was a great, like really, really enthusiastic, passionate teacher, and he was just a driving force actually for me and a lot of my classmates. He just really pushed to take it seriously and to improve yourself, and he's like, I always think about him whenever I do anything really, but he did this thing where each year he'd get a band of students together and we'd learn a classic album at school. So he'd put the band together and we'd spend weeks learning it. So this one I was Marvin Gaye. I was
nice.
And we recreated the poster and everything. So like, like
to be fair,
they photoshopped me on there. It was so funny.
That's jokes.
But having to listen to that album, like it really got into my body. The album, and like his vocals are just everywhere. Like he's singing, but then you'll just hear him do an ad-lib here and an ad-lib here, and he'll stack his vocals, and I loved that. So that's been a big influence for me, just throwing your vocals into a song and like letting them sit there, and you hear people do that. I mean, it's such a common like thing now, but that was my exposure to that, like not being afraid to, again, going back to like why is that there if there's no pianist in the band or something? I would have thought before I heard an album like that, I would have gone like, there's only one of him. Why is he singing 5-6 times at the same time?
They can't do harmonies. It doesn't work. Yeah, yeah. I get you. I get you. And I think that's it's one of those albums that is like seminal for a reason. And I think when you speak about the kind of social issues of it, let alone the sound of it, like sonically it's amazing, and obviously Marvin Gaye was an incredibly talented man. But like, I think there's that relevancy of what was going on in 1971 still being like portrayed and played out in modern scenarios in 2025 or 2024 or whenever you're listening to it. Like, it's one of those pieces that I think, especially in Black American or African American societies, that just still rings so true to a lot of people, and it's a sad kind of maybe glimpse into a lack of some of the progression that we've gone through, but I think it's
for it to still be that prescient.
It's kind of speaks to the insightfulness of the writing and the like the snapshot of reality and human nature, which is beautiful. I love that album so much. I love that album. I went to Motown the musical, and I was like, this was like maybe a year or two ago, and I was like, shit, I forgot how much I love Marvin Gaye. Went straight back home, just stuck this on repeat again. I was like, oh my days, what a banger. I think it'd be quite interesting. So normally we ask, I'll give you the spiel of how we got to this question. So we used to ask guilty pleasures, and then we have everyone come on and they'd be like, I'm not really guilty about this. And I was like, yeah, you shouldn't be guilty about it. You should love what you love and like what you like. So we removed the guilty element of it. But especially because you've sought out like more varied tastes in music and more varied styles and genres. And obviously as you've grown, you've taken what is current and mainstream or popular or whatever. What is something that you listen to that you think is unexpected for you? So like, even if for people that know you put this on, they'd be like, what?
I mean, a whole other band that I completely forgot to mention, but probably on my Mount Rushmore of who has like influenced me is Death Cab for Cutie.
Okay, yeah. They're great, to be fair.
Yeah, I love them, and they again, like I was walking around when I was a kid. I was very nihilistic, like when I was turning 18, and Ben Gibbard, the singer, his lyrics really speak to that. He was clearly going through similar stuff that I was going through, just in terms of like identity, existentialism, all that nonsense.
That woke crap.
I really resonated with him lyrically. But I think you can kind of hear that influence just in terms of melody, maybe, and like chord choice sometimes in what I do. But I think for me, if someone asked me who's maybe just seen me perform or who I've just met, and me to say them as one of my biggest influence, I think would be quite surprising to people. But yeah.
Okay, interesting. Maybe not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to ask anyway. So, what's the rest of your Mount Rushmore then? If you've got one space for Death Cab for Cutie.
Death Cab are on there, and that's for lyrics.
Okay.
Radiohead are on there for production. James Blake would be on there for. That's a weird one. I guess James Blake and Radiohead joint for the same reason. If that's allowed.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
And then Marvin Gaye for like vocal influence, using your voice. And I guess I need a fourth one really if we're doing Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. No, you've got the Death Cab for Cutie, Radiohead, Marvin Gaye, and James Blake.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Happy with that? Is that? Would you say that's a good snapshot of Steven Bamidele?
I think so, because in my mind I always trace like I always trace everything back to like 2011 as like I was making music and playing instruments before then, but like yeah, it just feels like that kind of really opened me up to what I started doing, and why I wanted to do. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I trace it back to those 4 artists largely, but there are so many more artists that
of course,
influenced me.
of course. And I think it's always difficult when it's like, who's your top 5? And I was like, well, who's my top 5 today? You asked me in half an hour, and I would have had a different take. I do want to play a game of bop and banger. Essentially, what I've kind of landed on is that there are, for good songs, there are 2 versions of it. There is either a bop, which is for the moment, which is like not going to last the test of time, and a banger is something that is like long lasting, it's iconic, it's going to be a classic in 10-15 years. So what I'll do,
so these are all new tunes you're going to play?
not always new tunes, so I've got the names of, how many do I have? I've got 4 for you. I've got 4, so from varying eras in time, actually. And then if you don't think that they are either a bop nor a banger, you can call them shite. We haven't had that one yet, which is nice, because it feels like I'm still picking good songs. So that's the tester as well, because I need to find a song that I think that the guest is going to know. I need to find a song that I think is actually worthy of it has to be a good song. So we're doing, this is like 6 weeks down, and we've not had some shite yet. So first one,
okay,
is Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Is it a bop or a banger?
Banger then.
Yeah, okay, happy with that.
Yes.
Is it the best Michael Jackson song?
Controversial opinion. I'm a big fan of Earth Song. Is that what it's called?
It is. That is what it's called.
I love that song. No, I wouldn't say that's my favourite.
Okay, all right.
But
okay.
I actually like that song more than Man in the Mirror. But I love Man in the Mirror. Yeah. But that's kind of a nostalgic take.
Fairs.
I'm a big nostalgia.
Okay.
And, I love that video.
The video is epic. I do agree with that. I hear you.
It just reminds me of simpler times.
Yeah. Life was easy, but
not for Michael Jackson.
Not
but for everyone else.
Yeah. No, fair enough. I can accept that just about. Next one, Disclosure, Latch.
Oh, for me that's a banger.
I agree. Oh fuck, I love that song.
Yeah.
I love that song so much. I've asked this question before on the pod, but do you feel like Disclosure are at the level of quote unquote national treasure? Like, because I feel like they've been doing it for a long time now.
Yeah.
They've got they worked with everybody.
Yeah.
And they're not falling off, I would say. Like, they're still going strong. They're probably like 12, 13 years deep now.
Are they big personalities? That's the thing. Are they like personalities in the UK?
Do you know what?
They're not household
names.
They're
They're not. That's a very good point.
in the music world, I suppose they are probably national treasures.
Yeah, but in terms of does my mum know who Disclosure are?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Maybe people do.
Maybe they do. They're nice guys, but I wouldn't say that they're like huge personalities. I had one of the best experiences of, I don't want to hyperbolize, but probably one of the best experiences of my life. We went to the Ali Pali show maybe like 3-4 years ago, and then one of my mate's boyfriends, tenuous link, he was like a set manager or set picker for films, so he knows their like maintenance team of Ali Pali. So whenever he wants to go to a gig, gets free VIP wristbands. And then underneath Ali Pali, there's a little like club, basically like a little event space. And Disclosure had their after party there, and they were spinning till like 4 or 5 in the morning. Wow. And I was just there with my mate, and I was like, "Oh, I need to get back down south." And my mate, he doesn't really go out that much. He took me by the shoulders. He was like, "Dapo, Disclosure are there. They're right there. You just fist bumped them. Like we're not going home. We're not going home." I was like, "Yeah, you're right. You're right." And it was such a good night.
What album had they just released? Or had they just released?
They had just released. I think it's called like.
Is it Energy or something?
Yeah. It was just after Energy, and yeah, it was silly. The visuals for that show as well,
Yeah.
fucking class. They went all out production value.
People really take it. Like, I think I didn't go. My mate Elliot went, but he went to Fortet there, and some of the pictures he showed me, I was like, oh my god!
I went to that.
Did you?
Yeah, it was serious. It was serious. The one thing I do have with that, I was a little bit worse for wear that night. My own fault. But there was a point in time where like I was stood in the lights thing, and he was just playing like a jet engine, like whooshing round, and like it really bugged me. It just caught me at the wrong time. I stood with my mate, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I like this." But that like light show company, they are doing like nights in collaboration with Cross the Tracks at like different venues around London called Lost in Light, and it's at Ali Pali. They just had like a big square of it in the middle, but what they've done is got like a smaller venue, so the whole place is decked out with these lights that are coming through, and it's going to be like interactive, immersive. They had like Children of Zeus. I think Connie Con was doing a DJ set, and then they did a live set. They had a couple of soul singers, and I was like, that's what I think. I think would prefer that light show in that environment. Whereas with Fortet, it was like quite like a heavy, intense experience. But Ali Pali, I think, gives you the freedom to experiment a little bit more. And obviously, if you're selling out Ali Pali, you've got a bit of budget behind you. But like it just gives you the chance to go all out. Because I've been to a few shows there. Like Little Sims had a big old fucking screen all the way around behind her, and had like different versions of herself. Like it was serious. It's one of my favourite venues in the UK, I think.
I've actually never been.
You've never been?
I've driven through the grounds because I have to do that to get to work. So that takes me. So I'm always like, I drive past, and like, how have I never been?
I definitely recommend.
Everyone I know is.
And there's lots of gigs there. There's opportunities. There's opportunities.
Yeah, it's my fault. It's entirely my fault.
That was such a tangent. I was looking around for a second. I was like, I can't remember where we would go. I was like, I don't know how we got here.
But just quickly.
Go for it.
You've reminded me. I need to get back into it a bit though, because there are so many like non-album little. I guess you could call it bops.
Yeah.
But there was one with. This is as they were coming up, or around the time of their first album. They had one with a rapper called Bishop Nehru. Stressing, I think it's called. That was a banger. And then they did one with Sam Smith and Nile Rodgers.
Did they?
They did a tune with.
Shit!
Yeah, that was a big tune.
They work with everyone. They've got a discography that is really not to be messed with. Like I think because it's in, especially as they were coming up. Even though they got very big off Settle, like their music is still in a niche area of dance music. Like it's not your Calvin Harris or your David. You know, they do still try and like mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But they very rarely miss. They very, very rarely miss. Like I've got a lot of time for them. This album, I dislike heavy. Alchemy was a big letdown. I wouldn't recommend like going into that one. Energy great. That run of 2013 to 2020, I have no issues with Disclosure whatsoever.
What are the chances of them seeing this?
I'm a tag him every day. I'm a tag him. Yeah. Apart from this, I mean, like, you remember me from your show, like the guy who fist bumped you in the after party. You know, I wasn't fanboying or anything. I was playing it really cool. Yeah. Next one. Say a Little Prayer, Aretha Franklin. Bop or banger?
Oh, banger! I mean, just the fact that you're mentioning it today. When was that recorded? Like,
honestly, fuck knows.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is amazing tune, and you've got to think all the remixes that have come from it as well. Like, just an elite tune.
Yeah. I haven't listened to much Aretha Franklin, to be honest, but that I have,
and I think that's like. Lasted the test of time. 100%.
My girlfriend's parents went to see her in New York
Really?
Like the year before she passed away.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's mad.
So it was incredible.
That's Was she still like vocally?
Yeah,
on it?
I think she was right up to the end. Like,
Fairs. That's an experience. That's one of the things that I love about live music. Obviously, it's sad when people pass, but like you as a fan, an audience member, like that you've had that interaction. And I know it feels weird because you're in this room with thousands of other people, but like you are of a small percentage of the world who get to do this thing at that one time. And even if there are other shows or they doing a big tour, like your experience on that day is your experience on that day, and nobody else is gonna ever get that. And like, it's beautiful, but that's a bit wanky. That's that's why we do it. That's what it's all about, 100%. And then the final one, we've had 3 bangers. I'm gonna say initially, I think this is a bop. Robbie Williams, Angels.
I mean, I think objectively it's a banger, just because if anyone sings it, you join in.
Yeah.
And it's like 20, 25 years old, but like I wouldn't listen to it much. But I do like it. The other songs I would like, every other song you've mentioned, I'd put on a playlist. I wouldn't put that on my own playlist. But if people were singing it around me, I'm joining in.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. And I think that is, it's like a
kind of in the middle.
It's an elevated bop. Yeah. What did we call it? We called it on episode. We called it a bop with an OBE.
That's sick. Yeah, I like that.
So dumb. This is going to sound like I've just been stalking your social media. I feel like I saw a post or a comment or something that you at some point in time felt that you were going to stop with music.
Yeah, I've talked about it a few times. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for a while, you know, and I still work jobs.
Yeah.
And, music's starting to become a bit more lucrative. And you know, I wouldn't say I'm transitioning into full-time music as such, but like the possibility seems to be edging
more present,
closer if the trajectory carries on as it is. But yeah, there's just been loads of moments where it doesn't go like this. It goes like that, and you know, I'm very much. I want the music to represent me, and I want it to be as good as it can be with the means I have. But with that comes less output if you don't have the money to do it at like a larger scale. So yeah, it's just a lot of living a regular life in between the moments of putting music out and the gigs and stuff, and it can just get exhausting. It's like doing this thing is very lonely a lot of the time too, and you have to really love. Like for me, when I'm working on a song and I find an idea that I'm like, I really like this. Not like, oh, this could do well or anything, but just, I like this. It speaks to me. Nothing feels better than that in this world. Like just the being able to create something out of nothing, and it be like an extension of you. Yeah. Again, wanky.
Yeah, but I was there like, I hear it. No, but I definitely, I know what you mean, and I think that's a beautiful side of it. And I guess maybe to not focus on the negative of it, but what at this point in time where you are feeling like there is the progression, like what brought you back into to like committing to it again and kind of sticking to the course.
So I never have quit.
Okay.
I've never just straight out quit music and said, but it's just there have been moments where like it felt like the most obvious thing to do. It was like, you know, I don't know, I'd be halfway through a project or something, or you know, you just come back from a gig and no one was there, or you didn't pick up any new fans, and you just think, what's the end point? What do I actually want to achieve? I don't know. So many variables. It's not even a negative thing. Sometimes it's just like, would I actually be happier if I wasn't doing this? You know? But anyway, I think signing, so I'm signed with a label called True Thoughts, and being with them has flipped it quite a lot now because there's a bit of support there, you know, and they've allowed me to make I made an album in 2023. I made it in 2022, released it in 2023, and being with them, allowed me to make the music I wanted to make, and that was really fulfilling. And we put it on vinyl, and just being able to have an album on vinyl was like cool. Like if I don't continue, there's something
There's a
to prove
record
I
of it.
existed,
Yeah, 100%.
So that was really nice. And then, you know, I've always wanted to just I kind of put the album on a pedestal as I want to just make albums. So I'm excited. The album that we've got coming out this year, it's like there's a bit of a concept to it, a bit of a narrative, and I'm just excited to try and do different things with the album each time I make one. Each time I work on one. I just want to try and push the limits of what you can do.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
I'm excited to do that, and to have the support to do it is really, you know, I feel really grateful.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it, man. I'm glad to hear it. So I guess you've alluded to it briefly, but what is to come this year? What's 2025 looking like for Steve?
We've got finished an album, been recording an album all last year. It's coming out this year. I can't say any dates just yet, but people, if anyone out there is waiting for new music from me, then
it's on its way.
It's on its way, and it's not too much longer now. It's within the next couple months that we're going to start rolling some stuff out. So really.
Plans for like touring the album and things like that, or is that still to be confirmed?
Plans in talks. I'd love to do a tour. I'd love to tour this year. I've never really. It's kind of a weird one. I don't know if. I think I could tour maybe like a few cities in England, and we'll see. I kind of need to. It's gauging the demand for it, but I'd love to just kind of bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah,
and just to show that we're willing to do it, and let who comes come, I suppose. But we want to do some shows. We're playing Brick Lane Jazz Festival in April. We're supporting Hot 8 Brass Band in Brighton at the end of March as well.
Unbelievable.
So a few early year shows.
Yeah.
And then trying to get some later ones.
Get some festivals in. You know, facts. 100%. No, that's perfect. Like, I really appreciate you coming in and chatting to me. I've had a really good time. It's been a good laugh. It's been nice to also like get a bit of an insight into kind of the processes. I think sometimes we have episodes with artists or people who aren't artists where we kind of stay in the airy, we stay in the light and fluffy, which is great, and but then I think it's also been really pleasant to just get an understanding of the impact the music has on you, and then seeing how that then feeds into your process is a really beautiful thing, man. And I said it when I reached out to you, like, big fan of what you're putting out, so I am looking forward to what's coming out. So it should be a good year, and I hope it is a good year for you, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening at home as well, for listening to me prattle on. We will be back again in 2 weeks. Please follow the podcast, Vinyl Resting Place Pod, on all the socials. Comment, subscribe, and please follow Steven Bamidele on all his socials. They'll be down in the description below, and then we'll take it from there. Peace.